Today's Chiefs Report is sponsored by RexMD. Go to rexmd.com/chat. Get heavy discounts of Cialis and generic Viagra as well. Get going in the bedroom again. rexmd.com/chat. Link is in the comments and in the description. Coming up on today's show, my name is Harrison Graham. Some free agent targets now that mandatory minicamp and OTAs are wrapped up. Chiefs got 5-6 weeks before training camp. 10 players I'm going to look at before the start of training camp in late July. Let's start with the obvious one. It is DeAndre Hopkins, the veteran wide receiver who was cut by the Cardinals in late May. He remains unsigned. He's visited with the Tennessee Titans and New England Patriots up to this point. We'll see if he takes any more visits. The Chiefs have been linked to him, but no visit has taken place. No contract offer, to my knowledge, has taken place. But someone we've talked about a lot and will continue to talk about as long as rumors and links between the two parties lurk out there, and obviously as long as he remains unsigned. I think there could be one of these deals where Hopkins and the market don't view each other the same, right? Where Hopkins thinks, I'm still a top 5, top 10 guy. I want $15-20 million bucks, and the market says, you're over 30. Their last 2 years, sure, when you play, you're pretty effective, but you haven't always been available. You maybe lost a step. There's some chatter of that. So the market might say, you're an $8 to $10 million player. So we'll see what the middle ground is there. We'll see if the Chiefs are interested. I certainly still am. I think he can be a really good piece in this offense. A lot of edge rushers to discuss. We'll start with the best pure pass rusher. That is Yannick Ngakoue, who spent last year with the Indianapolis Colts. And, something just isn't clicking with me. Like, I get he's not a great run stopper, and, these advanced analytics would say, his sack numbers are inflated. Well, when you do it every year, you're doing something right. He's been in the NFL for 7 years, and he's never had less than 8 sacks. Are we just supposed to say it's a fluke? He just kind of runs into him. Everybody else does the work, and he just finishes the play. I can buy that for 1 or 2 years. That does happen in the NFL, where certain guys' sacks are inflated or deflated based on what's happening around him. But 9.5 sacks last year, 10 the year before, 8, 9.5, 12, 8. The guy just does it every single year. I don't understand it. Now, there is a report out there that he's seeking A, multi-year deal, and B, $8 to $10 million per year. I could see a team not willing to do one of those two, right? If he wants a multi-year deal, it's got to be more like $6 to $8 million a year. If he's willing to take just 1 year, maybe they would give him 8, 10, maybe even $12 million bucks. That 8 to 10 for 1 year is kind of the sweet spot now, with Leonard Floyd and former Chief Frank Clark getting contracts similar to that number. So I can see that. But for a 2-year deal, not so sure. But man, he can really rush the passer. Let's go to another edge rusher. That is Jadeveon Clowney, who it's really just the opposite of Yannick Ngakoue. He's a great run stopper, not a great pass rusher, evidenced by just having 2 sacks last year. But he is a capable pass rusher. 9 sacks in 21. He's never reached double digits in his career, which, as a former number 1 pick, obviously, to me means he probably wasn't quite worth being the top selection, but he's still been solid his entire career. He's an excellent run defender and at times can rush the passer. Now, that kind of just comes to what your preference is, right? If you're Brett Veach, Steve Spagnuolo, do you want a guy who might be a tip more consistent in Clowney but not the pass rusher that Ngakoue is? Well, it kind of depends on how they view the rest of this group, right? I would lean Ngakoue because outside of Chris Jones, I don't think you have a guy that you feel like for sure can give you 8+ sacks. I think Karlaftis could do it. He finished strong as a rookie last year, ended up with 6.5, 7.5, whatever it was. I think he could take that next step. Amenahue, is he going to give you that? Anadike Uzoma's a rookie. That's asking a lot. Dana had 5 next year. That would be a big leap to 8+. And Ngakoue, he's never had less than 8. So I know he can bring that to the table for this defense. Now, pick an edge. Who would you rather have? Would you rather have the pass rusher in Ngakoue? If so, type Y in. If you'd rather have maybe the slightly more all-around player in Clowney, but not quite the pass rusher, type JC. Pick your poison, YN or JC. Also, get going with RexMD, the opposite of poison. It's going to get you going in the bedroom. RexMD.com/chat. You can get up to 90% off generic or branded Viagra and Cialis. Fellas, do you sometimes lack confidence in the bedroom? Do you wish you could have a more fulfilling sex life? Well, you are not alone. That's why we're excited to tell you about RexMD, the online source for men's wellness. They offer an easy and discreet way to get the medication you need for ED without having to visit a doctor's office. With just a few clicks, you can have your medication delivered straight to your door and at a fraction of the cost of traditional pharmacies. RexMD's team of licensed physicians will work with you to find the right treatment plan, and their medication is made in the USA so you can trust its quality. Plus, their customer support team is available 24/7 to answer any questions or concerns that you may have. So if you're ready to take control of your sex life and say goodbye to erectile dysfunction, head on over to rexmd.com/chat. Start your consultation today. Take advantage of the best deal they've ever offered and save up to 90% off and pay only $2 per dosage with our exclusive link. It is rexmd.com/chat. That link is in the comments and in the description. Get going today. The leader in men's telehealth. It's rexmd.com/chat. Another edge rusher to discuss, that is Dwayne Smoot, who has spent the last 4 seasons with the Jacksonville Jaguars. We've talked about him a couple times. He kind of fits the height-weight combination that Steve Spagnuolo likes, 6'3", 275 pounds, and you look at his production, it's actually been pretty consistent. 5 to 6 sacks the last 4 years. He's kind of a rotation rusher. He's not someone that's going to play every down, but I don't think you need that. You've got some decent depth. I think just adding one more guy makes a lot of sense. I mentioned the measurables. He's massive. Steve Spagnuolo likes that. He likes bigger defensive ends, and I think the Chiefs would be intrigued here too because he can kick inside occasionally and play some 3-tech for you. So if Chris Jones is checking out for a play or two, Smoot can go in there. So I'm intrigued by him. I think he's a player that we probably haven't discussed enough. Melvin Ingram, who spent last year with the Dolphins. Remember, we all thought he was going to re-sign with the Chiefs after they traded for him at the 2021 trade deadline. They did not. He ended up signing with Miami, and I thought played pretty well overall for the Dolphins. Had 6 sacks a year ago. As a rotation rusher, I think he can do some of that again in 2023, 5 to 6 sacks. I mean, think of Carlos Dunlap last year, right? Gave the Chiefs 4 sacks as a rotation guy. I think Ingram could give you a little bit more juice this season, but he's not going to give you quite what an Ngakoue will do. These were the numbers last year, just 22 tackles. 10 QB hits, though, had a forced fumble. You like the 6 sacks, like I mentioned. As a rotation rusher, I think you can do a whole lot worse than Melvin Ingram. Robert Quinn, who started last year with the Bears, ended up with the Eagles. Not a good year for Quinn. Let's just put it bluntly. But if you're buying into this every other year theory that he's kind of been on for 5 or 6 years, then 2023 could be another good year. And as evidence with the numbers here, his last 4 years, 1 sack last year, he was not good in Chicago. He was worse in Philadelphia. But the year before, he was one of the best defensive linemen in football. 18.5 sacks, 4 forced fumbles. He was a baller for Chicago that year. First year in Chicago, not very good, 2 sacks. Year before in Dallas, very good, 11.5. Like, it's very bizarre the career he's had. Like, we've counted him out multiple times. Then he just bounces back and hits you with double-digit sacks. Can he do it again? I mean, at some point, you know, it's kind of like the Giants in baseball. Oh, it's an even year. They're going to win it. Well, then eventually they don't, right? Like, it runs out eventually. But I think he is young enough where he can still be a productive rotation rusher. Like, I think he could give a team 5 to 7 sacks in the right situation in 2023. You would think he'd have a little more motivation coming off a poor year last year. So we'll see. Hopefully he ends up landing with the team and plays well. Subscribe to the Chiefs Report. If the Chiefs sign someone, we will make a video about it. Let's get to 43,000 subs ASAP. Can we get there by training camp? I think we can. Hit that sub button. It's 100% free, youtube.com/ChiefsTV. A name we all love is Justin Houston, who spent the last year, I think a couple years actually, with the Baltimore Ravens and had 9.5 sacks last year. And, of course, former Chief, a baller with Kansas City. People thought he was done after 2018, and he's been anything but in the last 4 years. I mean, since Kansas City moved on from Justin Houston, all he's done is gone 11 sacks with the Colts, 8 sacks with the Colts, 4.5, little downtick in 2021, but then bouncing back with 9.5 last year with Baltimore. I mean, you add that up, 14, 22, carried the 1, 33 sacks since he left the Chiefs. That's pretty damn good. I know he's 34 now, but again, rotation guy, played 44% of snaps last year in Baltimore, still had 9.5 sacks. That's pretty darn good. Obviously with Kansas City, just a hell of a player. He was very, very good in his time with the Chiefs over 8 seasons. You know, I think he's a future Ring of Honor guy in Kansas City, probably a future NFL Hall of Famer. And if he comes back to get a reunion, maybe get that Super Bowl ring that has evaded him his entire career, be a great story. But more importantly, a guy that can help you in the locker room and on the field. I'd love to see it happen. Not sure if the Chiefs are interested, but I certainly am. Should the Chiefs bring back Justin Houston? Do you want to see it happen? Type Y for yes. Type in for no. I'd like to run it back with him. We'll see if that is a possibility. I want to mention a couple of running backs here. Ezekiel Elliott, who remains unsigned. I still think he re-signs with Dallas because I don't think his market's very strong. But if the Chiefs want a short yardage guy, and by the way, Isaiah Pacheco is still recovering from offseason surgeries, Zeke wouldn't be a bad option. Now, he's certainly over the hill. You look at the kind of decline in production throughout his NFL career, had a career worst 3.8 yards per carry last year, but he's still good in 2 areas. One, he's great in pass pro, good blocker, a guy you could bring in on third downs and obvious passing situations, and he's not going to miss an assignment. Now, Jarrett McKinnon can do that too, so I understand. And he's good in short yardage. I'd have to go double-check the stats, but in 3rd and 4th and 1 last year, I think he only didn't convert 1 time. So, he can get the tough yards. Burst his shot. Like, he's not going to rip off 20-plus yard runs. But short yardage, reliable blocker, still catches the ball fairly well. Again, he doesn't give you much after the catch, but, check downs, he can do that. If you're looking to add a running back to the room, Zeke is a vet with some experience, a lot of experience. Leonard Fournette, another one. Similar deal. I think short yardage, he's more of a pass-catching threat than Zeke is at this point. He kind of emerged in that way during his time in Tampa with Tom Brady, so something to consider. Now, I look at this running back room, and I'm like, is there really room for a running back? Like, you got Pacheco and McKinnon. That's your 1-2 punch. Edwards-Helaire's under contract. Sure, if you dump him, that could free up a spot. But Deneric Prince has drawn some real hype during the offseason program. OTAs and minicamp from Jarrett McKinnon himself, a running back on the roster. Multiple coaches have pointed him out. Special teams coach Dave Tobe says he's right there in the mix as a return guy. So if he keeps showing things, then you're not going to get a running back, especially if Clyde is here. But if Clyde gets moved and if Prince isn't quite ready, then you could use a third back. That's why I wanted to mention this. And one more here, James Robinson, who I don't want to say inexplicably, but somewhat surprisingly got cut by the Patriots after signing a 2-year deal in free agency. Man, and that's rare. You sign a guy to a multi-year deal and he's cut by training camp. Usually you would think there's some off-the-field issue going on there, but I think he might just be done. Like, he had the Achilles tear a couple years ago, hasn't quite been the same since. He bursted onto the scene with Jacksonville as an undrafted free agent, but ever since that injury, hasn't looked the same. But he's a guy to at least work out. We saw the Chiefs work out Darrell Henderson, so if you're working out Henderson, why not James Robinson? We'll have to wait and see if he's under consideration. Now, name a free agent the Chiefs should sign. Just went over 10 players that I think could make sense for Kansas City. Drop a name in the comments section below that you want to see throw on a Chiefs uniform. Appreciate all the love and support. And if you made it to the end of the video, hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. It's 100% free. You are a real one if you made it this far. My name's Harrison Graham. Appreciate you guys for tuning in.